Jungl's last game of the split, are they going to give him Samira?
Maybe, but like I thought Sylas blind pick was dead. This champion's meant to be much more situational, much harder to play out in lane. But looking at these first 2 games from Creme, they just go, oh, be damned with it. Let's just take the Sylas away from them. It also reduces some power of stuff like Sejuani, which is, in my mind, why I think we see the Lee Sin locked in. OMG are typically a team that loves to play around these big ultimate-centric junglers like Maokai and Sejuani, but now locking in the Lee Sin Aphelios, they're avoiding trying to give the Sylas the best possible ultimates to steal from those roles, while still retaining some early game power in the skirmishing of Aphelios and Lee Sin.
Well, let's see what they do as a response, because against that Lee Sin, against the skirmishing, Xun doesn't have his favorite jungler open and available. The Sedge we saw last time with a melee mid laner, you know how good it would be? Well, I think we could all understand that, but for now, BLG at the very least are going to pick up their bottom lane again. This was their game 1 winning bottom lane that on styled on, and Elk just carried away casually, comfortably on this Jinx.
Yeah, and one of the big differences between Game 1's draft and now into this one as well is you're not going to have, one, BLG with the Vi, and more importantly from that, Creme not having the Sylas to steal the Vial and then go straight onto that Jinx, which is the one team fight which we saw even in a very dominant Game 1 go to the way of OMG. This is a different pick, Creme. I can't remember. He hasn't played this champion this split. This was something much more of spring of last year, which we saw around the world. But the thing about Vex into Sylas is that your ultimate is harder to use for Sylas because, of course, you don't have like the same kind of doom and gloom passive which comes with it. But with this, it means that when you're dashing forward onto the likes of the Vex, you get that extra damage from Creme. And we have 2 very explosive mid-jungles potentially coming through. Jungle, of course, not locked in just yet for Xun, but just with the Vex and the Sylas locked in, expect action between those mid laners.
I'm looking forward to it at the very least. A great pick to end it out. We talk about OMG being this surprising drafting team, and of course they end in the same style. Smiles across the faces of OMG right now too. As we get rid of some of those other pockets on the side, you can see the BLG like, no, Ppgod will not get the Blitzcrank response, as this series has been a bit back and forth so far with the priority in Thresh. And now we get double jungle banned away from BLG, where Xun will not have that Sejuani to play the melee matchup from Yagao.
So we've only had, just checking through the stats, 2 games of the Vex played so far. They're actually both wins. So Vex sat at 2-0 in the LPL. Feels a bit cheap to call it 100% win rate, but technically it is. The 2 wins were by Pingzi and by Knight as well. Both had pretty good scorelines in those games. So Creme, see if he can toe the line on that one. Able potentially locking in the Nautilus. We talked about how in previous games, when you have that Sylas on the table, don't really want to give stuff like the Solar Flare or the Depth Charge of these big engaged supports over. Kind of like a bit of a consolation, just say, well, look, we're going to give it to the Sylas, but it does, at least in this case, allow you to trade hook for hook. At Nautilus very able to fight early into the game, and potentially give you a bit more ability to play through laning phase, which of course BLG absolutely exploded with the Jinx Thresh in Game 1.
Yeah, it's what made them so successful. I mean, again, laning phase is, I feel like we can reliably look positively at Elkin on so far in this split. As on the other side, just note, Bin is going to be pulling out the KEnnen this time, and that is a blind pick. So Bin looking to set up the team fighting here, Nymira, as Xun, he loves snowballing junglers. He hasn't got the Kindred available. The Vi's gone. Wukong's gone. Sejuani's gone. Against the Lee Sin, does he want to snowball out of his right mind, or does he want to support? I guess the answer's in the latter.
Bit of both. Somehow he's managed to kind of split the difference between those 2 points and say, well, you know, it's not going to be like reset, completely carry Viego. The Xin Zhao, though, does have a lot of burst and has the ability to be the kind of like temporary front line.
Viktor top?
That's a Viktor somewhere. I love OMG's draft. I love this team. They're doing something weird. I'm not entirely sure where all these picks are going. I'm assuming it's the Viktor top into the KEnnen because, you know, in seasons past, we saw players like Xiaohu, when he was top lane, pull out some of those mages like Syndra top lane. That was a big innovation of his. Back in Season 8, we saw a huge global worldwide meta of stuff like Iceborne Gauntlet Viktor in the top side. That probably won't be the case now. I've not seen all that for a very long time. But Viktor being able to kind of poke out in the ranged matchup removes some of the power of the KEnnen.
End of the day, BLG won't have the best game differential. And Weibo, even if they lose, it'll have to be a 0-2 in order for BLG to claim that spot. It looks hard, but at the very least, OMG playing for Weibo here. BLG playing for themselves in order to give themselves the best chance to get into fourth, into round 3 of playoffs, as Nightmare said before. OMG have already done the unspeakable. They have launched into second round of playoffs. It is a big day regardless for them, but a great way to finish it off. As I am curious, Nightmare, about how lane dominant this is going to get from OMG, especially topside.
Yeah, you have to look back a long way to really see the last time that Viktor Top saw any semblance of dominance. We had that one The Shy game, of course, played last year. It was not played at all the season before that. You have to go back to like season 9 to really see Viktor Top prop up in the LPL. In fact, in this year globally, this is the...
it was The Shy.
Yeah, that's the game. That's the game. It was The Shy. It went 0-5. It was a bad game. Please do not look at that as like the blueprint for this game. But you have to really look at across the world at this point. Viktor has always been somewhat of a flexible champion. We saw him played a little bit bot lane in the past in like season 8, season 9 as well, to my mind. I think he's actually had one or two games like last year from it. But this is the first game outside of mid lane that Viktor has seen globally this year. OMG, once again, ever the innovators. Talk to coaches around the world, and they at least have an eye on their games. Whether to see it works or not, but just making sure that they're keeping an eye on whatever the heck this team is cooking up. BLG, though, they stared them down in the eye in game 1. Really put them to the sword. It's not like OMG always play out these drafts to success, and BLG on their win streak want to keep that alive, looking to do so in game 3.
As On is gearing up for the level 2, meanwhile in the bottom lane. Just a quick note that the Thresh came out in game 1 and On picked up MVP on the champion. Had some really clutch moments. And so worth keeping an eye on that bottom lane as they get level 2 first. They get a push in first and we'll snap back there shortly, I'm sure. As you know, Creme on the Vex here doing pretty good in the mid lane. And meanwhile, Aki actually drawing attention to the topside jungle. The emote goes up. He's trying to find Shun, but Shun is going to find him first. Aki was spotted out going into the barrage. There's the Sonic Wave, but Xin Zhao, one of the best duelists in the game, but he misses. Wind becomes lightning. Shun not getting one of the core pieces of damage off us. Now for re-engage, Yagao jumps on him, but Creme still has that passive. Look at the doom, the gloom, the sudden bloom of Creme. Getting the burst out. He's done well, and Yagao might have to go share and tell.
This is one of the rare opportunities to say that most of the time you frame it as, oh, mid lane is no longer a 1v1 lane, a jungler's always in your lane. This is the opposite side of the coin. When jungle, you get to say, actually, you know, it also depends on whether your mid lane is heavily winning as well in these big duels in the jungle. The reason why Shun can't finish off anything towards Aki at that point, yes, because I'm pretty sure that W did end up missing in that play, but Creme would have been the first one to that play. Shanji also using early push against the KEnnen early on. KEnnen not used to getting pushed in very early into the game, so Shanji at least making use of the first few levels of this oddball Viktor top pick, gets some value out of it. See what happens after that point. Have to imagine that if he falls behind, blows a flash, gets ganked, this champion can get very far behind in that role. But for the moment, Shanji finding value.
Well, you have to hope that it continues on, because for OMG, their bottom lane at the moment not doing that well. A plate already taken by BLG. We saw an screen moments ago.
Compared to game 1.
That's true.
It's an improvement on some marks.
That is true, but still, I mean, the 2v2 so far for BLG has been the majority of the shining light, and the CS lead is growing there as a quick hustle over to mid. Creme just going to get the advantage of what he can from the doom and gloom yet again, but there is a bit of a CS lead from Creme in this mid lane, top side as well, as we talked about, that Viktor doing quite well. So OMG are keeping track in gold with the plate already taken bot, meaning that for now, things are going pretty smoothly for BLG. Because we have to remember, Nomura, even though we look at BLG as, okay, we look like a team fighting top, I feel like OMG, you could say similar values. They have a lot of gap flows, a lot of all-in that can destroy enemies in a choke.
Yeah, I hesitate to really call how this game is going to play out, because it can happen in a number of different modes. Of course, you got stuff like the Xin Zhao KEnnen kind of diving in kind of comp. Gonna hold on to that thought. There's maybe a 3v3 erupts. That's the Lance gank, but Aki's here.
Dredge line there as well. The play is away, but the Sonic Wave lands. Grab him as well. Nice combo from OMG to even find Shun on the back end as he gears up for a win, becomes lightning. Audacious charge, gets it, flashes out. Shun jumps back in. What? Okay. All right, simmer down, guys. I get it. It's the last game of the split.
Yeah, we're cooking, we're simmering, we've got a boiling point here on the bot side as Xin Zhao and Xin remind us why they are so terrifying in the early stages of the game. First items be damned, you've got culls on the AD carries, but it's junglers cutting people down to size. Really well read by Aki. Not like the first two games. Shun was getting vision onto Aki, was making the early game a little bit contentious. This time, Aki reads Xin Zhao. And despite the Lantern gank coming through, OMG that walk away with the better of this trade only really turned around because Shun gets the big burst combo just back.
And instead of continuing to walk away, he's like, okay, Auto, we'll get the ball. And at the end, Abel feels like the benefactor. BLG, 6,000 kills total from that in the LPL, by the way. So not only was Shun and Bin hitting their 200 and 300 milestone games, respectively, BLG hitting another team goal here as an organization, which, remember, BLG haven't been in the LPL for really that long.
We potentially have a fight up this for Dragon. Of course, no unlocked teleport, so we're not going to see the top laners joining into this.
Great line. Shadow Surge, though. Oh, can they get the reset? They need to get Creme on, and they do. Creme has the reset. Creme has the reset. The Shadow Surge, and you're about to get purged. Creme now not pulling the trigger as he's already run out of mana. But on the back end, Yagao jumps in there and flashes out. Elk now getting a reset, gets some movement speed, but he didn't get the kill. It was Yagao to pick up the blood, but OMG get the dragon and get out as in the top lane. There's an ulti to come through, but Shanji takes next to no damage while all players want to fight.
Yeah, he's got a catalyst, got enough HP to see off that slicing maelstrom, but in that bot side fight, you can see the threat of that reset coming through. Clean, not sure what happened to the second cast of that ultimate. We'll have to see what happens in a replay because, you know, trying to use that Shadow Surge, but it's anything but a surgeon's precision. Doesn't quite get that second play. Hook champions mean you often do end up trading for hook for hook. The reset comes down to the Vexel. What happens with the second play? Who does it land on? You have to think it's trying to go towards Shun.
He didn't have enough mana, so he didn't use it. But I just mana on the second one.
Surprised. I thought that the recast didn't cost that mana cost, otherwise it'd be a little bit draining on that sense. But either way, Creme not able to absolutely explode through the back end of that fight. Still walks away with an assist. Yagao walks away with a kill himself, though. OMG get themselves an early dragon. If they stack up 2, that would be very important for them. Again, both these teams, as you mentioned very much earlier, they both have tools to team fight, but when you have the dragon stacking, it just puts the pressure on the enemy team in terms of setup towards those objectives. They don't have the same ability to kind of like give up maybe one dragon if things aren't going their way. So OMG, watch out to see if they get a second dragon. That might be a turning point in this series.
And team fighting Eddie carries like Abel, I mean, I'm going to love that as well because Abel's set up for success again. 2-0 start here. Berserk Greaves, double longsword, Cull stacking away nicely. It's definitely an Abel game yet again, and let's be real, you know, all members doing quite nicely. Top side, 20 CS lead just about. Mid has a CS lead. Bot now is going to get played and has the minions over top of Elk, which wasn't the case only 5 minutes ago. So let's be real, OMG happy everywhere. Sonic Wave's taken, Redline's there, on, might be kicked in a moment. Aki's just waiting for the Calibrum hit. The Dragon's Rage, perfectly executed. Oh my god, look at this team go.
Yeah, Abel, though he kind of suffered in the early lane, and the Calibrum ultimate, the ace in the Calibrum, headshots on down, despite him getting player of the game in that first one of the series, not able to really get the same kind of value from this pick in this game 3. Suddenly this Aphelios in 3 plates gets the zone off so many ways, not even hitting the tower, just letting the minions die to it. It's not like there's any rush to take down these plates as it goes through. And OMG, flipping the script around from the first game of this series very, very comprehensively. They get the lead through bot lane this time.
1,400 is the lead, in fact. Abel is 1,400 gold up at barely 10 minutes into the game. It's almost a 2k gold lead at the top of your screen because OMG have functioned now through the bottom lane. And we have to be real, that is so close to getting an early Gale Force here, but what I'm more scared about is Nymera, the fact that we are just living OMG right now in a series that honestly felt like it would be BLG favored with how it started. But OMG
that's how they get you.
Creating their own
That's
landscape.
how they get you. Every time.
Yep.
It's like, oh, you're not going to trust OMG? Nope. They've just made a deal with some kind of dark pact and they walk away with the most unexpected series, right?
It's just crazy. Again, because OMG, like, you know, even in that within one game, Aki had a horrendous moment. Actually, it was game 1 on the Xin Zhao. And then game 2, as you said, you know, he was influential on his Wukong pick. This time around, even on the Lee Sin, he's been really pristine with how he set up some of these plays, and his damage ratios have been sick. But like, it's just been so back and forth from OMG as a season, yet again, where they can have some great games, but then some horrendous ones as well.
Oh, is he greedy?
Their own little top B spots is Shanji for the flash. Is he going to be burning it? Well, oh, fancy footwork. Shun can't get it.
And BLG, they would love to get a kill in that lane. Again, like, this oddball Viktor pick, it falls apart and looks really, really bad. If you get like 1 or 2 ganks up there, which remove a flash, they get him down in terms of the amount of gold he can spend. But as it stands, you know, dominant early lane, allowed OMG to push into the enemy jungle, ward out what Shun was doing, allow some plays around top side of the map to be threatened as well. But now, kind of, Shanji kind of gave that to his team by pushing in the early waves. Now his team is giving back to him by being able to protect him into his first item. It's a give and a take, and now Shanji is going to be at a point where he's getting towards, you know, Rod of Ages, looks like into a Seraphs after that point as well. He's actually, once he hits 2 items, going to be pretty bruiser-like in a way that those kind of Rod of Ages, Seraphs mages can be.
Goodbye, turret, meanwhile. Gale Force, excuse me. It's already been picked up.
Gordricker Aphelios, you heard it.
Yes, that's
Shanji,
it. That's the best one.
Yeah.
Shanji. Well, he's going to get stunned up. This time wind becomes lightning, does connect. And even though the gravity field's down, Shanji buying time. Bin should just leave this one to go. Hailstorm comes through. He survives. Meanwhile, Creme is here, though. Not going to get himself the max damage. Just flush away from Sonic Wave. Elk. Great fingers, but unfortunately, he's down. He's exposed spot. Yagao now trying to find a pick off. The Dragon's Rage is there, but not enough damage. He safeguards over the wall. And Yagao almost had it.
That is so close. Oh, it's more than close. It's a kill. Elk sends his regards with the Super Mega Death Rocket.
That's Jinx from Arcane, baby. That's some narrative. 1-0-2 now. Okay, he's got a kill. So BLG do get something back, but Nightmare,
wait, does that actually buy him the Kraken Slayer? So, oh, I'll just go get myself another jungle cap. Wait, let me just fire the ultimate over that way. We didn't see this, like, completely on the screen though, because the top lane play was happening at the same time. It looks like it was the double reset coming through Extreme, was the cleanse, was the flash afterwards when Aki flies over the wall. So, Elk, despite getting that feel-good moment afterwards, still forced away from the bot side of the map. Still not able to impact this fight after that point. We were worried about what would happen with OMG if they were to get a second dragon after that first. They have now, of course, got that. Oh. So despite, again, the feel-good moment, BLG not walking away with a clean win. Good ult, though. Seals the kill.
That's actually nuts. He's waiting for the vision, saw that Ppgod was going off by himself. There's no Lee Sin there. He's already used Safeguard. So he has to be going that way. That was big brain from Elk, and look, as you said, it gets him cracking, gets him that first item and gives him some catch-up where he just lost his turret before the play and his flash. So some kind of recompense when BLG are the team behind by 2,000 gold. But no matter, let's be real, it's OMG in the driver's seat here in this game. They have double dragon, they've got a herald coming up in 45 seconds, they've got almost a 2-item Aphelios, and even Creme here as he gets negotiated with by Yagao. He's in a pretty good position here on this Vex to get his 1 item soon too.
Much like the Phantom Menace, negotiations were short.
Yeah.
That's even more appropriate for Yordle on the other side. But Creme, not completely safe against the Sylas. It feels like in laning phase, Vex is very much a champion which does well against high mobility champions because every time someone dashes, you get that extra mark on top of you. The Vex ult allows you to pick up immobile targets like this afterwards.
But unfortunately, Abel's not going to get feared out because you just don't have the best passive, do you? Well, Yagao not getting the Everfrost either. And Abel didn't even burn a summoner from that Nightmare, he just walked back.
He's not afraid of the dark, or the doom and gloom attached to it. Yeah, Abel still has flash, still has cleanse. Second Herald is available if OMG want to make some inroads towards that. They're able to push it in the mid lane and kind of walk through this wider entrance into River. That's typically the big breaking point if you're going to go towards these objectives. Much easier to push in through the wider part of River rather than through one of these jungle entrances. And it's OMG. Keep that in mind. Get towards this Herald. Second one of the game. Looking like it's going to be going towards with them. And Bin teleports to the bot side, which signals that BLG, they're not looking for a fight around this one.
No, they're not. They're instead just looking to clear these waves and get what they can in gold. At least stop Shanji from finding anything up from the top side, meaning turret pushes. OMG looking towards mid, but the Chaos Storm is stolen. Yagao going to try, doesn't get stuck under the gravity field, and that's a lot of damage with the chain lab. He maxed that first here against the Vex lane, and it stings like hell as OMG, meanwhile, on Nymira, this inner turret might be gone.
It is, but side lane turret, what's happening? Oh, no, we're fighting.
Shadow Surge is there. Shun has just opened things up. Not sure why he wanted to go in, but at the very least, they get a response. That's a kill going over to Elkis. Herald charges in. And the flex on in. Yagao already stole the ultimate there for us. Beautiful Shadow Surge on the back end. Creme dissuades him, but Finn comes in. It's the one-man ulti, but out, but it's enough to kill Ppgod. Is able! Able not again! Oh, I've seen that story before. Why did you do that?
Oh, it's such a good collapse from BLG. The pick on top side means that Shanji is not going to be able to contest. Yagao coming down into that mid lane because, of course, he's dead. Ben was already pushing alone on the other side of the map. He teleported away from the Herald to get pressure on that side lane. What that means is that OMG, they're not prepared for either of the solo laners of BLG to join that fight, and this is the impact that they have. Yagao, as we said, kind of dealing with Shanji. Poor gravity field placement for Shanji means that Yagao, even with no dashes left, doesn't get stunned up, gets the chase down. Bit of a misplay on a mechanical level from Shanji at that point. OMG though, I mean, again, we know what this team will do every single time. They will always choose to take the fight, even though they're not necessarily in the best position to do so. Losing the Lee Sin means that they're in an even further numbers disadvantage. Creme at least gets the fear to stop Yagao getting on one side of the fight. You can't stop both of these solo laners. As you said, Abel suffers for the sins of his team's overpushes in his own misplays.
Apologies, thought he ran into that, but of course it was just a good hook from On. But at the very least, Abel getting picked off, never mind. Because as we set up this, Abel won't have that summon available. As in the backline, Arky's there, Sonic Wave has to execute on the Dragon, he finds it. OMG now with 3 with the fight and chooses Creme. Launches onto the enemy team, the Shadow Surge is great, but he's dead. Before he can use rest, but look at Mr. Shuriken Man! Oh my god! From a screen away, launches the ultimate. Abel is running out of Qs. But now he'll disappear as Crescendo's down with the Gravitum. He'll launch onto 2 members of Dreadline there. An explosive ultimate for their last game of the split. This is how it ends. It feels like his elf goes in for the 50-50 and dies. OMG are alive. What the bloody hell just happened?
Where are you meant to focus in that fight? OMG gets so split towards the end of it, but they managed to make it work. Abel manages to cycle through a couple of different weapons. Those Sentinel turrets able to stop BLG getting a clean collapse onto them at the end of it. OMG walk away with Soul Point, BLG not able to deny that from them. But things got really, really scary once Elf felt like he was untouched and resetting on the backline. But as you rightly said, the chakrams from Abel mean that he is the king of damage in terms of these ADCs at this point. Creme starts off things well, but doesn't really get the damage onto the backline. Gets onto a Thresh, not removing damage from the table. Whereas on the other side, when you're removing that Vex, things get a little bit scary. Abel's turret and his brush is really the difference maker at this point. It's like 2 extra auto attack resets from very long range, which allow him to take some opportunistic moments. And we're fighting again, and Creme is dead.
But the difference is, Creme is not really going to suffer with the rest of his team. It's instead just to pick off, but BLG should be able to find a top turret from this. However, in that last fight, OMG got the Dragon. They're now on an Ocean Soul with Mr. 200 plus. Let's not forget things like Viktor, Vex that are going to be able to dive in or at least sit there and channel off their abilities and feel a little bit safer for it. So it's a nice game for OMG to try and close out their split here as we look at the replay bottom right to see how Creme got caught out.
I think he walked into an area of vision with people not on his side of the map. I think he got jumped on. So Xin Zhao finds out the Vex. Some teammates come in as well. Not even going to be able to see the full extent of that. You know how the story goes after that point. Vex gets closed down. No fear, no flash after that point. They're pretty much a freebie. Now, what's going to happen in the next phase of the game? BLG, with a series of pretty decent plays for them, mean that they're evening up the gold somewhat. They're pushing into the other side of the map. They have vision littered into OMG's jungle. Despite OMG having points of power, items on the Aphelios, heading towards the third as well, OMG don't have the best way to approach these fights, nor do they have the huge flanking threat like they had with stuff like the KEnnen or big engaged tools like they had with the Sejuani, Stolen Ultimate, and Sylas in that last game. They're going to have to problem solve their way into one team by a little more than the first 2 games, and BLG, credit to them for making them have to do that, considering the early game went so far in OMG's favor.
And God, look, for BLG to find some kind of meaning in this game still is incredible, considering that OMG started out with great lanes and that setup for Abel down in the bottom lane, Creme and Shanji both having leads. BLG, it's come down to people like Yagao, even like Bin with some of his angles too. People that are stars in their own right. We talk about BLG, you know, the late game insurance of Elk, but we've got to remember, Yagao and Shun are some parts of how early game goes the way it does in some more successful BLG games. Bin, as a side laner, has been one of the most successful in the LPL, but this game he's showing his flexibility to his great team fighting pressure as well. It just shows you why BLG, with a win here, are fighting for fourth. They won't lock it in, but they have a great chance of doing so if Weibo lose to RA tomorrow. It's a big if, but still, it's one that BLG can play with here, while OMG, they've already locked in 6. This is about making sure BLG are fit, riding that stairway to hell in the LPL playoffs alongside with them.
Bit of a Malifaux, that one. It's not rocket surgery. It's one of my favorite ones with that. We'll burn that bridge when we get to it. Another one.
Nice.
No strangers to burning some bridges in some of those team fights, even when they're not particularly in a good place to fight in these games. They're currently stacking in their own jungle. They're trying to play around the bit of vision which they do have, but BLG are not giving it to them easily. I think this is one of the advantages a team like BLG does have over a team like OMG, is that they just have a little more patience than them when it comes to the setup of some of these objectives. They've got themselves some really good vision. OMG, you can see how scared they have to play. They're not able to get vision into this river. It allows people like Bin to get in very dangerous positions. At
least that flanking ward there means that OMG won't be caught by surprise by Bin, who's spotted out in the next one. Sonic Wave not connecting here. Wind becomes lightning as well. Yagao has one of the best ultis for AP. His death sentence was so close, but a depth charge is there. He's looking for a target. Abel is ideal here, but his bloodthirst makes him so taking his straight line. Starts it off. Yagao, look at the backside. He hits up Abel. Then Ppgod dies without any support. Bin, dead though mid-ulti. Yagao's targeted, but he goes golden. Azuki's down the backline. Elk is charged out. They fix the top. Destroyed him. Yagao left standing in the middle of the fight, while, man, OMG have some spicy meatballs.
How the heck do they walk away with that again? It is a blind hook onto, I believe it was Bin in the bush, which meant that Bin couldn't get the huge threatening play. Sometimes KEnnen wants to just sit beyond the initial engage and flash back over, see what he can do at that point. But OMG, they get themselves Ocean Soul. They can head over towards the Baron, threaten that as well. Not sure they're going to be able to clear both objectives. Have to see what happens when we come out of replay. It's onto Bin, blind hook onto Bin. This KEnnen not able to get into the backline. Shun also, his dash stopped by that Vex with that fear. Creme gets huge value at the start of this fight. Double resets. And Aki survives longer than he has any right to. If that KEnnen ult is there, this fight is so different. BLG though, that team fight was stopped or ever really started for them.
It's sad ultis from Shun and Bin, nothing else to put it as. Where Bin ultis on like 10 HP, Shun ultis on like 100. It still wasn't good enough, and OMG get the Ocean Soul because of it. This team that in 5.5 years hasn't made it past round 1 of playoffs. 5.5 years, guys. They have started in round 1 of playoffs in the past 2. Apart from that, they have been a bottom tier team. 27 OMG. That is how long ago it was, and right now setting records in half a decade here as they move towards the Baron. That's now live. They've got the Ocean Soul, so Nomira. They've got a bit more health to play with if they want to bait this in.
Yeah, so they couldn't finish the Baron in that replay. They choose to take the Soul over the Baron. Makes a lot of sense. The permanent buff, typically way more valuable than the temporary one of that Baron. As you said, OMG setting records for themselves, and they're doing it in their way. They're doing it in these crazy drafts. They might play the same way regardless of what champions they have on the Rift. They're always aggressive, they're always looking to fight you. But the way that they set themselves up for success from draft has been a way which teams across the world have looked towards them to see. And this time it's the Viktor top into the KEnnen. We kind of saw this flowchart of Jax being the LPL champion, then the KEnnen came out to answer it. Now when the KEnnen is picked trying to deny those picks, now we see that our teams had their own innovations. We saw Ala try and pick Vladimir into it. We saw a Cho'Gath as well from him. He's tried to innovate in his own way over an EDG, but OMG with this Viktor, I like what they're doing with this, and you can see the value it has. If it gets to survive that early game into these team fights, you're now getting to the point where Rod of Ages nearly stacked up to 10. Only Rod of Ages on the Rift. It's not like Yagao is built towards that, or the Vex. Vex needs a lot more burst from that champion. And if then suddenly Shanji goes in towards something like a Banshee's Veil against the heavy AP burst coming out of BLG, this is going to be very difficult for BLG to shut down that Viktor, and you were calling it out in that last fight. The Chaos Storm did so much work. BLG, now they're the ones on the back foot, looking at the gold and the items being built up from these carries.
Well, we're getting towards that Baron, that hover at least now for OMG, and for BLG, I was just going to note that we have 3 items here for Elk, so if they're putting any hope here into trying to obtain that top 4 position, maybe it comes down to him, as always with this team. Abel's the same spot though, now with Infinity Edge of his own. He's also got the Bloodthirst of the extra crit, so he's going to be huge as now onto the Baron. OMG to define their legacy for the first time in a long time. It could come down to this.
Finn has flash, has ultimate. The cannon could absolutely pop off. OMG, they're looking to man mark. They're looking to take the
trying on Shanji, but Shanji's actually 1v1ing. Meanwhile, Ppgod goes in and BLG take him out. Shanji zoned out Yagao, and they have to be worried about him. As Elk goes on up, Shanji's still not taking that much damage. Flash of Conduct Duck, it's matched. Shanji out with the Summoner. OMG are now running in this top side of the map. They lost their support, their core bit of engage, so they back off.
Yeah, Ppgod kind of had to be the sacrifice for OMG in a number of these fights, sat at 1 and 6. OMG, they back away from the Baron, not able to hold that terrain, but the teleport's coming in. Finn still has flash and ultimate. Watch to see what this cannon can do.
But Nymera, I'm worried because Abel, look at his guns. Look at his guns, red and white. Are you feeling all right? On can answer that question if he finds a hook, but he doesn't land it. Instead, Abel walks up, gets the ward, plays dirty as Yagao doesn't get it, but it's got a duck land. Beautiful with Shadow Surge. The Shadow Surge from Creme. Does he take it?
There he
yes,
goes.
He does on the Shun. Gets the fear. Shadow Surge part 2. The kickback. Oh my freaking god!
This team has done so much in this split. Heck, even over the last year. Right the way from last spring to this one, they've innovated, they have improved, and they're starting to set new records they haven't seen in so many years. OMG barreling down the mid lane, not even bothering with the Baron, looking towards the Nexus.
For the first time in 5.5 years, OMG, not only will they finish on 10 wins, but they will destroy BLG. They will move to the second round of playoffs for the first time in half a decade. This team will not be starting down in the bottom of the barrel.
Look at the celebrations coming out of this team. What this means at this point for BLG, who lose this series, that they're hoping not just for a loss from Weibo tomorrow, but a 0-2 loss from Weibo. For them to potentially hopscotch over them, it would be a very difficult scenario for them. But still, a door open for them. They have to walk away from this one though, looking at what OMG threw at them in the draft, what they threw at them in terms of those team fights.